The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Order was shaped like a vast, glowing eye, its iris sealing a slow-turning dome of starlight and steel. Tiered rows of delegates filled the chamber, a spectrum of species that spanned scales and feathers, silicon and carbon, fluid minds, and biomechanical bodies. Over 200 civilizations watched in silence as the human representatives stepped forward. Ambassador Reese Calderon adjusted his suit, his fingers brushing over the thin lapel pin, a small silver Earth spinning in orbit around a star. He wore no armor, no translator node, only the crisp Navy uniform of a Terran diplomat. His jaw was set, his gaze unwavering as he approached the central podium, its surface glowing faintly beneath his fingertips. No one clapped. He didn't expect them to. The silence here was not one of respect, it was scrutiny. Distrust. At best, skepticism. At worst, fear. Earth's reputation preceded him. A Deathworlder, they whispered. A relic of chaos. Some believed his presence itself was a kind of threat, a biological weapon in a diplomatic tie. He scanned the assembly. The Vlen with their translucent skulls. The Mavari delegates blinking asynchronously from deep within exocets. The Run, who communicated only by thought rhythm, sat unmoving, their neural robes pulsing faintly. All of them were waiting. Testing. He began, voice firm. Honored delegates, I stand before you not to justify Earth's past, but to argue for its future. A murmur rippled through the chamber. His translator didn't miss a beat. Though Reese had trained to speak several galactic dialects, nuance still belonged to machines. The Council accuses Earth of systemic aggression, of unpredictable escalation, of being unsuitable for peaceful alignment with the High Galactic Accord. I will not deny that Earth has known war. But I ask, have you known our sky? More silence. The statement was poetic, and poetry was either foolish or sacred to most here. He let the pause stretch. Our world forged us in fire, he continued, his voice calm but rising. Toxic atmosphere fluctuations, megafauna predation, planetary tectonics that split cities open like rotten fruit. We didn't conquer our world, we survived it. And survival taught us one truth. To live is to adapt or perish. Some leaned forward. Others narrowed their eyes, or their equivalents. Reese stepped slightly to the left, as if addressing them more personally. We did not build weapons because we desired conquest. We built them because we needed to outrun extinction. What you see as aggression, we see as defense refined to an art. He could feel it happening, the air thickening, the weight of attention drawing closer. Even the drones above stopped their quiet circling. A long-necked delegate from the Psionic Dominion raised a neural stalk, signaling protest. Reese held up a hand. Let me ask you this, he said. When your homeworld flooded, what did your people do? You left. Migrated. Engineered arcs. The Psionic nodded slowly. When our oceans rose, we built walls. When our crops failed, we rewired genomes. When death found us, we adapted, not by fleeing, but by enduring. From the shadows of the mezzanine, a flicker of movement. He saw it a split second before the sound, just enough time for his eyes to lock on the faint shimmer of a camo-cloaked form near the edge of the security perimeter. Then came the searing crack of a molecular disruptor. The bolt hit him just below the ribs. Pain flared, real and absolute. Reese staggered, dropping one knee. His breath caught. All around the chamber, gasps echoed. Several delegates recoiled, guards moved, too late. But Reese didn't fall. With a grunt of effort, he stood. He reached up and gripped his shirt with one trembling hand, and pulled it open. The fabric tore down the center, revealing pale skin smeared with blood, and beneath it, a circular silver implant embedded in his torso, glowing faintly blue. It rotated like a lens. A stunned silence dropped like a hammer. Reese stood, blood streaking his side, chest rising and falling, eyes locked on the frozen assembly. I was shot, he said, voice still clear. But I am not done speaking. He paused, watching them take it in, the injury, the cybernetic heart, the impossible resilience. Then he added, quietly, "Welcome to Earth." And the room, all at once, didn't know whether to listen or to fear. For a long, suspended second, no one moved. Then chaos erupted. Security drones dropped from the ceiling like birds of prey, converging on the source of the shot. Shields activated around key delegates with a humming shimmer. Voices in dozens of languages filled the chamber, overlapping, frantic, accusatory. Some called for Reese to be removed, others demanded an investigation into the weapon's origin, a few demanded Earth's immediate expulsion. But Reese remained standing. Blood had soaked through his undershirt, outlining the cold, circular interface embedded in his chest, its concentric rings softly pulsing, as if syncing to his slowing heartbeat. One of the rings flickered red, recalibrating.
He didn't look at it.
He had known this was a possibility. He took a step forward. Another. Then he descended the steps of the podium and walked, slowly but with deliberate balance, toward the perimeter, where the shot had come from. Guards, confused and uncertain whether to restrain or protect, parted before him like uncertain shadows. Ahead of him, two Signer operatives, a pale-skinned, spiral-eyed species often aligned with anti-Deathworlder sentiment, had subdued the would-be assassin. The alien attacker, now pinned and bleeding from a stunned limb, hissed through a split, cartilage-lined mouth. Reese didn't slow. "You thought I wouldn't stand back up," he said, not loudly, but with a clarity that cut through the din. "That's the mistake everyone makes about humans." He reached down and seized the alien by the collar of its layered robe. Despite the blood loss, his grip was firm. He hauled the smaller creature upright, ignoring the muttered protests of the guards, and began dragging it back toward the center of the assembly hall. Some tried to stop him, but a single look from Reese, eyebrows furrowed, jaw tight with steel, was enough to still them. At the podium, he hoisted the would-be assassin up by one arm and let him slump against the pedestal, bound by gravity and shame. The chamber quieted once more, not by order, but by awe. Reese's voice was hoarse now, but no less resolute. This one feared what Earth represents. Not because we're violent, not because we're dangerous, but because we don't fit the model. We are not gentle-born like the Solari. We don't emit pheromones of cooperation like the Voln. We don't hatch from communal cradles or share hive minds. We are the exception. The alien twitched beneath his grip. Reese loosened it just enough to keep him upright. This was not an act of protest. It was fear weaponized. And it is exactly why I'm here. He turned slightly to address the chamber again. You want to know what a Deathworlder is? You're looking at one. But not because of the weapons. Not because of the hybrid organ in my chest or the combat reflexes they engineered into our diplomats. Not because I survived a shot meant to kill me. He let go of the attacker, who slid to the floor, defeated. A Deathworlder is a creature that adapts to survive absolutely anything. Even peace. There was movement in the crowd now, not of panic, but of consideration. Heads leaned toward one another. Translation devices blinked in rapid sync. Somewhere, a member of the Cerevan Triad began recording a live log of the event. Eyes, organic, mechanical, crystalline, watched Reese not with contempt, but with calculation. He looked out over the sea of faces, his breath shallow. You fear what you don't understand. That's universal. But Earth didn't come here to impose. We came here to learn how to belong. We created the core inside me not as a weapon, but as a bridge. My body can't tolerate your atmospheres. Your light spectrum scorches my retinas. Your viruses rewrite our DNA in hours. So we built this. He tapped the glowing interface with a blood-slicked finger. To survive the journey to your table. Someone finally spoke, a Mavari counselor, voice filtered through 6 vocoders. Why not remain organic? Why the machine heart? Reese met their gaze. Because compromise isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it scars. The assembly quieted again. A representative from the amphibious Thalkani delegation raised a single silvered tendril. And the shooter? Let him live, Reese said simply. Earth doesn't fear honest fear. We understand it. But let this act be recorded as what it was, not protest, but cowardice. Behind him, The injured attacker let out a low rasp of anger. Or shame. It was hard to tell. Reese swayed slightly, one knee dipping for a breath of weight. The implant whirred, pumping synthetic adrenals into his bloodstream. He straightened again. I didn't stop speaking because of a weapon. I didn't fall because someone thought fear would silence me. This isn't bravado. It's biology. This is Earth. He stepped back from the podium, his eyes scanning the assembly one final time. Now vote, he said. Not on whether we are like you, but whether you are ready to understand us. And with that, he sat. Not collapsed, sat. Controlled. Intentional. A soldier trained for diplomacy. A diplomat forged from survival. A Deathworlder who had just dragged the truth into the light, bleeding, but undefeated. For several minutes, the Grand Assembly sat in a silence heavier than any gavel. Ambassador Reese Calderon remained seated at the base of the podium, his chest rising and falling in quiet rhythm, synthetic pulse harmonizing with his slowing breath. The blood on his side had darkened, dried into his undershirt, but the luminous core beneath his ribs still pulsed with persistent, mechanical life. He did not speak again. He had said all he needed. Now he waited. The delegates conferred in hushed, frenetic networks, some through pheromone exchanges, others via light pulses, mind links, or sonic resonance. Even the Ruin, stoic empaths with slow deliberative cycles, began a vote well before their usual interval. The entire hall had shifted, not just in judgment, but in curiosity. No one had anticipated resilience expressed with such restraint. Pain had not unmade the human. Instead, it had made him more articulate. An ancient species called the Varkesh, known for having survived the collapse of 4 empires and the extinction of 2 suns, broke the silence with a single utterance. He stood. That seemed to tip the weight of the chamber. From the crystalline perch of the speaker's circle, the assembly moderator, an avian figure suspended in gravity by flowing energy robes, glided to center stage. Its elongated vocal tract resonated with a clarity engineered over centuries for moments of law and history. Delegates of the Accord, the human representative has submitted Earth's final petition for admission to the Council. In accordance with Article 9, and under witness of all present species, a vote shall be cast. Observation drones, calibrate. Begin. A moment later, light spread in fractal bursts across the walls, each segment illuminating a single vote. Green for approval, amber for abstention, red for rejection. Reese did not watch. He simply looked down at the attacker still restrained near the podium, now unconscious or unwilling to meet his gaze. From the corner of the chamber, another delegate rose and approached. A tall figure in a flowing thermal shroud, Ambassador Kithvara of the Ocean Continuum. Her species was bioluminescent, aquatic, and notoriously isolationist. She had not spoken in the chamber for 2 full cycles. She stopped in front of Reese and extended a hand, not in diplomacy, but in offering. You bleed like a soldier, she said, her voice distant and layered. But you speak like one who understands peace. That is rare. He looked up, surprised. I was taught to survive both. She nodded, then turned to the chamber. The Ocean cast their vote in favor of Earth. Not because we trust you, but because trust is not a requirement of understanding. One by one, others followed. The votes solidified, green sweeping the walls like the onset of spring across a frozen world. When the final count pulsed into being, 152 in favor, 33 abstaining, 21 against, the chamber erupted not with applause, but with a kind of focused reverence. Protocol demanded silence at the moment of confirmation, and in that silence, Reese felt the full weight of what had just occurred. Earth was in. The words didn't even have to be spoken aloud for them to echo in his mind. After decades of watching Earth be treated as a volatile outlier, as a dangerous oddity unfit for interstellar diplomacy, the species born under relentless gravity and chaos had earned their seat, not through strength, but through demonstration of will. The moderator finally spoke, its tone solemn. Let the record show, Earth, designated Deathworld Class 4, is hereby granted provisional admittance to the High Galactic Council. Ambassador Reese Calderon shall retain representative authority pending final environmental and biological compliance. Long may understanding eclipse fear. There was no celebration, not yet. Reese rose, swaying slightly as his implant rerouted blood flow around torn tissue. The pain had become something familiar now, almost meditative. He wasn't alone anymore. As he moved toward the side platform, his aide, Tessa, a hybrid of Earth-born human and orbital AI consciousness, stepped forward, catching his arm with gentle precision. "You are not cleared to provoke an assassination attempt," she whispered. "I didn't provoke it," he muttered. "I just spoke." She arched an eyebrow, mechanically enhanced, and passed him a small vial of synth-regenerative fluid. "You should rest. Your internal monitor says you're at 39%. He ignored it. His eyes were scanning the crowd again. Some of the delegates were already withdrawing to their ships. But others stayed. A cluster from the Thalcani approached, tentacles curled in inquisitive spirals. A Cerevan reporter hovered discreetly in the background, already constructing the speech into a cultural archive. Most surprising of all, a Signer diplomat, the same species as the attacker, stood frozen, conflicted, uncertain whether to approach or retreat. Reese turned to Tessa. "Get me the full background on the shooter. I want to know if he was acting alone, or if he was trying to spark something bigger." "You think this was political? I think nothing here ever isn't." Behind him, a vast screen lit up, displaying Earth's flag, blue and green spheres interlaced with DNA spirals and planetary orbits. Below it, new words flickered in the universal dialect. Earth, observer seat granted, status, provisional. Reese let out a slow breath, pain and victory braided tightly in his chest. It wasn't peace. Not yet. But it was a beginning. He turned back one last time to the silent attacker still held at the edge of the platform. Not with hate. Just understanding. And then he walked forward, toward the next war. The one fought with alliances, diplomacy, and all the quiet, deadly strength Earth had learned the hard way.